Hi, I'm Dan, and welcome to the Airbrush Garage. If you're new here, welcome. Returning, thanks for coming back. Today, I think I got a really cool and unique project, a little something outside my wheelhouse because I'm not a t-shirt artist whatsoever, but I'm going to incorporate an iron-on decal with airbrush. I'm not only going to show you how to cut and put the iron-on decal properly so it'll hold up over time, but I'm going to incorporate some airbrush into the background, melting the two together. So it's a really cool project. If that's something you're interested in, stick around, check it out. If you like this type of content, please consider subscribing, hit that bell so you get future notifications. Thumbs up would be great, a couple comments, good or bad, it really helps out with the YouTube algorithm and help build this channel. Don't forget to check out all my Amazon affiliate links down below for all the products I use in this video and all my other videos. And with that, let's get started. All right, before we get started here, I just want to say it is a gorgeous day here today. It is October here in Southern Virginia. I'm going to leave the door open today here in the Airbrush Garage. I usually close it when I'm doing videos, but you know what? If you hear some birds chirping or some neighbors talking, so be it. It's just too nice to keep that door closed. So with that, I want to explain to you some of the products that you're going to need, or all of the products you're going to need for this project. Of course, you're going to need a t-shirt. You're going to need your Cricut machine, your cutting mat, some iron-on vinyl, really important parchment paper. You'll see why in a minute. Something else that when I first tried doing something like this, I didn't know about it, but I picked up and learned something off of a YouTube video, and that is the use of transparent base, and you'll see why. That's very interesting. Of course, you're going to need your iron, and then your airbrush and some paints. So with that, let's get started. The first thing you're going to do is want to get all of the wrinkles out of your t-shirt, and then we're going to lock it down in with the transparent base, all of the fibers. That's really an important step because I didn't know that. And when I was painting or trying to paint my first shirt with some just background colors, all the paints were absorbing in and I wasn't getting the brilliance or the vibrancy out of the paints that I was looking for. And it was because I wasn't locking down the fibers. Ironing it itself is not enough. So what I like to do is I like to iron the wrinkles out first. Then we'll come back in and I'll show you how to use the parchment paper with the decal and locking it down with the transparent base. So I had this heating up off of camera for a while. So I'm just going to go and I'm going to iron out some of my wrinkles here. Now, I am not an expert ironer by any way. It's not usually in my wheelhouse or something I would do. My wife has a fit if I go to work with a wrinkled shirt, so that's kind of her department. Me, I would just go to work with a wrinkled shirt. So I just really want to smooth this out, especially where I'm going to be painting. Now for the next part for this, I'm going to turn my steam off because when I'm putting my decal down, I really don't want any steam. Okay, I use a little bit of steam just to get some wrinkles out, but besides that, I'm going to turn my steam off on my iron, very important. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to take my transparent base, I'm going to load it up in my Iwata Eclipse, and we're going to spray some base on here. Then we're going to come back in and we're going to lock it down. All right, I got my Eclipse loaded up here, about a third cup full of my transparent base. And I'm just going to spray in the area for the most part, where I want to lock this down, where I'm going to be airbrushing. So you kind of have to know where you want to be airbrushing or where your design is going to go. Now, I would like to say, I usually reduce all my paints and everything, but with something like this, if you can, or if your airbrush is willing to do so, and the Eclipse with a 0.35 needle should have no problem spraying this transparent base unreduced. I prefer to put it on unreduced in this particular application. As you can hear, I just ran it out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my parchment paper. And again, I got this for $1 in the dollar store. So you don't need to go out and spend a lot of money on this. You're going to need this also to apply your decal. And where I got that tip from was standing in the aisle at the Hobby Lobby when I was looking for my iron-on vinyl. And it's amazing what you can learn in that Cricut aisle with a bunch of ladies or guys. But mostly I run into some really cool ladies in the aisle that know a lot more about the Cricut than I do and get a lot of really good tips off of them. And this was one of them about placing the decals on, and just a great tip. So here we go. Again, take the steam off. And you're going to want to iron over this, and you're locking down all of those fibers with that transparent base. So we'll set this parchment paper aside, and we'll use that also when we go to put our decal on. So now you got all your fibers locked down, because remember, when you just iron, yeah, you're ironing the fibers down, but as you start spraying, it's going to pull the fibers back up. This, with the transparent base, is now locking all of that in, and you'll see when we go to put the paints on. Now, again, I recommend opaque paints when you're painting t-shirts. Transparent paints, you're going to have to put a lot more layers on to build up that color. So as you'll see, we're going to be using the Cricut Wicked opaque paints. So now let's turn over to the Cricut. Let's get that set up. Let's get our decal cut out before we go any further. So we're going to start by opening up the Cricut Design Space. If you don't know what Design Space is the engine or the program that runs the Cricut. So you're going to bring all your projects into here. You're going to edit them to the point where you're going to be able to cut them. So I'm not going to go over all of that in this particular video. I'll pop a card up above. If you're really interested in learning about the Design Space, if you don't know it already, go check out that video. That'll give you a much broader and better explanation to get you to this point. But that's not what this video is about today. So we're going to assume for a second that everybody knows what Design Space is. And I'm going to go over here. I'm going to pick my projects because it's a project that I already have done. And we're going to make an Airbrush Garage, or the Airbrush Garage t-shirt today. So we're going to pick on that right there. And we are going to hit Make It. Now this next part, when you're doing iron-ons, is very important. There's a mirror button over here. You have to click mirror, because we're going to be placing our vinyl face down, because of the fact when we take it off, the sticky side that is facing up when we're going to be cutting this is going to be going down onto our t-shirt. So that is very important. If you don't click mirror, this will not come out right for you. You go to iron it on and realize that your text is backwards. So we're going to hit continue. And it's going to check for the machine via Bluetooth, because that's why I have it set up, just like everything is nowadays. And it's going to say, make sure mirror is turned on, which we just did. And the iron-on material is face shiny side down. So let's go do that. So I already removed the protective film from the cutting mat. This is a Cricut cutting mat. It's basically tacky. That's going to hold our vinyl. This is a standard grip mat. I like to use the light grip mat for a lot of my vinyls and stuff, but when you have a curl to the vinyl, especially this is a little heavier, the iron-ons seem to be a little heavier than the regular vinyls. So I like to use a standard grip mat. I mean, you really can't go wrong using a standard grip mat. Now, again, shiny side, dull side. You want to make sure shiny side is down. So let's line that up on our cutting board or our cutting mat. And I know from my Design Space, my decal is approximately 8 inches by 4 inches in depth. And what I like to do is, to make sure that's all stuck down, I'm going to take out a credit card or a bank card from my wallet. I'm going to lightly go over that, pressing it down, making sure the air is out of it. Okay, once we do that, we're going to come over here to our cutter. Our cutter has a blinking light. It's the arrow light. There's 2 tabs down here that you're going to put your mat in. You're going to push them right up against your rubber stops. The blinking light indicates it wants you to do something. So we're going to press that button. It's going to take it in. It's going to sense your material. Once you did that, you got your C button, or your Cricut button, or your Go button, as I like to call it. And again, blinking, so it's indicating you want something. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned this. If not, I'm going to mention it again. Or if I did, I'm still going to mention it again. Your dial here, very important now. The reason why the computer knew that this was an iron-on, because I have this set to iron-on. You know, it drove me crazy sometimes, like, why can't I get this thing to work? And the problem was I had to come over here to my dial was set maybe to paper or vinyl. So whatever substrate you're using, you got to make sure that this dial you got to set manually to what you're using. And right now I'm set the iron on. It's ready to go. I'm going to hit my go button or my C button and let it go. All right, now that I got my decal cut out, what I have here now is a charcoal or a chalk white pencil. It says charcoal white, okay, which again just equates to chalk. So I want to figure out where I want my design. I'm not a t-shirt artist, so I don't really have a t-shirt board. So what I did is I stretched this over a piece of canvas and I clamped it with some little paper clamps just to keep it a little bit stretched on my board. So again, I want to find approximately the center of my shirt. Put a little chalk line down here now again, so I have 8 inches. So I'm going to go 4 and 4. Again, a little easier if you have a hard board behind here. I do not. So I'm just going to make do with what I got. So you can do this without going out and buying anything special. If you want to make yourself a quick t-shirt. All right, so that's approximately where my decal is going to be. All right, so I got my Cricut opaque white loaded up here in my gun with, again, just a few drops of reducer. We'll see how that goes. We can reduce down further if we need to. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to spot in here or get some background going in here with the opaque white and get some colors going on here before I lock this down again and then iron on our iron-on. Once you have that base background on, then you can come in with some transparent colors and like maybe do a border, you know, around your decal. And the transparent colors really won't affect your decal itself because they're transparent, but yet with the opaque base on there, you'll be able to see the transparent colors a little easier than you would be able to if you just started off here with transparent colors. I've tried that before, it doesn't really work. And what I'm doing here now is I'm not just running a straight line, I'm actually, you can hear the air is continuously on and I'm just pulling that trigger back and forth and I'm just kind of clouding or spotting this in. I don't want a consistent coverage for what I'm going for or the effect that I'm going for. But you can see I'm getting some really nice coverage here. And again, if you ever tried this with transparent paints, you'd see that you wouldn't be getting near as far as I'm getting right now with transparent paints. Matter of fact, you'd be hard pressed to even see it. And the more layers you put on this, the darker it's going to get. All right, now that we got our background on there a little bit, so we're going to go and we're going to lock this back down in. We take our parchment paper. We're going to heat set that a little bit. My couple slow passes over top. You want to heat set that in there and also kind of like preheats it for your decal. We may do that again one more time. I just want to set that down in. All right, so now that you got your decal all cut out, you need to weed this out. So if you were to just take this without weeding it and stick it down here and iron it on, you're going to get a rectangle. Okay, so as simple as it may sound, it's been done before. Okay, so you have to just follow the steps now where you got to take your weeding tool and you need to weed it out because you only want what you're going to be ironing down. So now you got a plastic backer here that you're going to want your decal to stick to. Okay, so you want to flip this over and you want to be careful on peeling this back. And you don't want to pull up, you want to peel back on itself. And I happen to have a lot of intricate detail here, so I want to be careful. So this is going to take me a little bit. So I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to peel all of this back, and I'll see you in a few. All right, so now that we got our decal all weeded out here, that was a complicated weed actually, but it really is impressive how well that machine cuts. You can see the really fine detail that allowed to stay on. And I basically just, peeled it back on itself and then used my weeding tool. You really do need a weeding tool if you're going to do any type of work like this. It's only, between $5 and $8, for a good weeding tool, something like that. I mean, you could spend a few more dollars, but, You really don't have to, but you do need that to do this type of work. So we're going to take this now, just has a sticky back on it. Okay, so we're going to take that, and before we place it down on our shirt, I'm going to preheat a little bit again. I'm going to take out my parchment paper. I'm going to take my iron. I'm just going to heat the surface a little bit. Again, I've done these t-shirts without a press. Now, if you're going to be doing a lot of shirts, by all means, the Cricut press is probably well worth it. But to do, a couple t-shirts every now and then, I've done these, and I'll tell you what, once you stick this thing on, it's not coming off. So you want to preheat a little bit. You want to kind of line this up where you think you might want it. Just want to press it down a little bit into place between the little bit of heat that's left in that shirt and the adhesive. It stays right there. Now you're going to put your parchment paper back over top. Again, very important, do not iron right on top of the decal. And I like to start at one end, press down, and slowly go across. Come back, press and slow. I'm going to give this about 2 or 3 passes, or 3 or 4 passes. All right. Looks good. Nice and hot. I think we're probably pretty good, but one more just for good measure. Take the shirt, shake it a few times, let it cool down a little bit, shake it out a little bit. I'm just going to pick up on your plastic here, and just like anything you do, you don't want to pull straight up. Take your time and peel it back on itself. If at any time you see it pulling up, you want to place it right back down, put your parchment paper over it, and add some more heat. But I think I'm going to be pretty good. And there you have it. So now I'm going to put it back up on my board. We're going to add a little bit of color to this. And we'll finish it up. Now I got some Wicked Opaque Pyro Red loaded up in the gun. I am reduced about 10%. So add a little color, start adding a little color in here. Kind of just trying to spot it in here. I'm going to come back in with some white a little later, sharpen everything up. But my plan is to just build a little texture right now here, a little bit of color. Now I do have a transparent black, or a detail black, to be more precise, Wicked detail black, loaded up here in the gun. Mixed about 50-50 because I do want this to be transparent. Because I want to come in here, I just want to put a shadow in around here. And I'm going to come back in over with the white. I have enough layers built up here where the transparent black should show up. But I don't want to overtake or overpower it. And if I hit some of the letters, I'm hoping that it would be pretty transparent. And now back to the opaque white. Just want to show you can do them freehand or with a shield. A lot of people complain about white getting, tip dry and everything. Again, you'll see in some of my other videos, I find the best way is a little reducer in a cup. Come, clean off your tip, pull your needle back a couple times, clean that tip off really good. Now, the key to this is you don't want to just go and hit your project. You want to hit the air. You see some of that blow off there. And then I take a paper towel and I use my fingers instead of just using my fingers. And I'll tell you what, now you're back to new. All right, there you have it. As you can see, I finished up with some sunflowers here. My wife happens to love sunflowers, so I did this t-shirt for her. So I hope you got something from this video. So hopefully your takeaway on this video is how to properly prep a shirt to get it prepared to accept airbrush paint. And the other part is a little bit on how to use the Cricut and properly set up your shirt and iron on a vinyl decal. So this is a pretty cool project where we melted the two together. And again, not a t-shirt artist, not looking to make, hundreds of t-shirts. I like to do the one-off t-shirt every now and then for myself, my wife, or some friends. If that's what you're into, hopefully this really helps you out. So with that, thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you in the next video.